Urgent question, Debbie Abrahams.
To ask the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions if she will make a statement on the withdrawal of her appeals in relation to personal independence payment claimants with chronic conditions and what further action she will be taking.
Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, Secretary Esther McVeigh.
I'm absolutely committed to ensuring that disabled people and people with health conditions get the right support they need. PIP is a modern, personalised benefit that assesses claimants on needs, not conditions. It continues to be a better benefit than its predecessor, DLA, for claimants with chronic conditions. Under DLA, only 16% of claimants with diabetes received the top rate, whereas under PIP, 29% received the top rate. I carefully considered these historic cases and decided to no longer continue with these appeals in order to provide certainty to the claimants. Since withdrawing the appeals, I have provided instructions to operational colleagues to put these claims in payment urgently. These claimants will receive any backdated monies owed and should receive their first payment within the coming days. These cases were decided prior to the March 2017 amending regulations, where the government clarified its policy for managing therapy under PIP Daily Living Activity 3. These regulations are not affected by our decisions to withdraw these appeals.
Debbie Abrahams.
I thank you for granting this urgent question, Mr. Speaker. The announcement during recess that the Secretary of State for the second time this year has withdrawn appeals, this time on the Daily Living Activity Component 3 of the PIP assessment, managing therapy or monitoring health conditions, raises serious questions. I'd therefore be grateful if the Minister could let me know how many people does she estimate to have been incorrectly assessed during the PIP Daily Living Activity 3 descriptor who have either been denied or had reduced support. Will her department be undertaking a review of past claims relating to this descriptor to identify other claimants who may have been underpaid or denied support? If so, when will the process start and be completed? I'm grateful to her reassurance it will take days. Will additional staff be recruited to undertake this process? What assessment has the department made of the average award that claimants will be entitled to, and when will the payments be backdated to? Will there be an appeal process for PIP claimants who are not contacted by the department who believe that they should receive back payments? What assessment has she made of the administrative and legal cost to her department and the public purse? Given the Secretary of State's concession in these test cases, does she accept that the changes made in the March 27 PIP regulations regarding Activity 3 are illegal? And given also that there are a review of 1.6 million PIP cases to identify the estimated 220,000 people underpaid relating to the mobility activity component, will she also update the House on how many of the 1.6 million PIP claims have been reviewed to date and when the exercise will be completed, and how many of the estimated 220,000 people affected have received back payments to date? With a record of 69% of PIP decisions being overturned at appeal, it is clear the assessment process is not fit for purpose. The recent Work and Pension Select Committee's report into the PIP assessment process said the assessments cause unnecessary stress and anxiety for thousands of people who have been denied support unfairly, as well as wasting public money for sending so many decisions back to the courts. So when will she get a grip of PIP and immediately stop reassessment of disabled people with progressive conditions?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Obviously, today's urgent question was specifically on the cases AN and JM, which we have given a decision on, which I've given a decision on, and for clarity purposes for them was not to continue with the court case there. Any other issues that the Honourable Lady was talking about is separate, and whether we move on and do other things, that is not for a discussion here today. There is a further case happening at the moment. It would be ongoing legal case of which it would be incorrect, and I'm sure the Speaker would agree it would be incorrect for me to talk about an ongoing case at the moment. Therefore, I cannot. However, what we do know is that for these claimants upon which this UQ was granted, I have, for clarity, appealed it for them. Equally, at the same time, we are talking separately about the mobility issue, which I have given updates regularly to the House on what is happening there. We have been working with stakeholders to create new guidance. We have been consulting with claimants and stakeholders, and we do know that we seem to be on schedule to have the first payment to go out to them at the start of this summer.
Anna Soubry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As the Secretary of State knows, I've written to her about a number of complaints that I have from constituents about PIP. And whilst it might not be completely on point with the Honourable Lady's question, I would respectfully say to the Secretary of State, my concern actually is not PIP. I think it's a very good benefit. My concern actually is capita in my area and the assessments. So, Mr. Speaker, I have a constituent with a severe brain injury, clearly getting DLA and other benefits, assessed by PIP, and got a 0. He went through the process, got them rightly so, the full amount. I'd be very happy to discuss it with her or the other minister, but we do need to look at the assessments.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I will, of course, meet with my honourable friend to discuss this. What we do know is that over 3 million people have gone for assessments with PIP, and whilst there has been appeals by 9%, 4% of those have been overturned. So we do know for the vast majority of people, they are getting their awards, and under PIP, rather than DLA, far more people are getting the higher awards. What we also know that under this government, that actually from 2010 right the way through to 2022, more money will be going to disabled people in need than were under DLA in 2010. But as I said, I'm more than happy to meet with my honourable friend.
Marshall to Cordova. There's been a change of personnel. I was advised the honourable member. Never mind. Margaret Greenwood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to congratulate my honourable friend for securing this urgent debate, and I was disappointed to hear the Secretary of State being so dismissive about concerns being raised by members right across this House. For the second time this year, the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions has been forced to acknowledge that her department has made a serious error in assessing claims for personal independent payments. The previous error resulted in potentially 220,000 people being underpaid PIP, causing misery that could have and should have been avoided. The Secretary of State now admits a second error, this time related to Activity 3 of the daily living component, managing therapy or monitoring a health condition. The Department has again got the law wrong on interpreting PIP descriptors, leading to possibly thousands of disabled people not getting the crucial support they need. In January, when the DWP last admitted an error, my friend, the Honourable Member for Battersea, asked the Minister a series of questions that should have been answered but still have not been. So for anyone to have confidence in the Department of Work and Pensions, she must now be able to answer our questions. So how quickly will the Department be able to identify claimants? Will she publish her criteria for reviewing cases? Will she include the cases that didn't originally score sufficient points? Exactly how many complainants have been wrongly assessed for PIP? What assessment has she made of the administrative costs to her department of undertaking yet another complex exercise? And given that this is the second error in the department's interpretation of its own guidance to come to light in 6 months, what reason do disabled people have to believe that her department is fit for purpose?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This being a brand new benefit, which for the first time was to look at people not just with physical disabilities, but fundamentally look at all of the disabilities people have got, cognitive, sensory, health, and also mental health conditions, of which we seek to bring in a new benefit, which is supporting more people than DLA ever did. What I want to say is nobody was forced to come here to explain why I'd not appealed to the Mobility 1 appeal. I made a decision by myself, which I thought was true, in keeping with how PIP was designed, and I made sure that we did not seek leave to appeal for that. At the same time here, there was a period of uncertainty for the 5 months between the court case and between when the new regulation came into play. And I agreed that these two instances, the case for AN and JM, should not be living under uncertainty. And I believe on both instances I have done the right thing not to seek leave to appeal on the other instance, and on this case not to either. I appreciate the opposition do not like to hear the fact that we have, I would say, done a positive move by not seeking to appeal and support these extra people. You wouldn't believe that by the screams from the opposite benches, but that is what I have decided to do. That is what this government has decided to do, is to support disabled people as best we can and provide this new benefit, which is a personalised benefit and very much a forward-looking benefit that was not the case under DLA.
Jeremy Quinn. How many benefits, how many claimants will be affected by this decision, which I welcome? And can my right honourable friend reassure the House that this will in no way impact her sterling efforts to ensure that more disabled people find their way into work?
The right honourable friend raises several questions there about helping disabled people into work, and we know over the last 3 years we've helped over 600,000 people into work, and people will know that PIP is a benefit for those in work and out of work, and actually we've helped another 200,000 people in work with PIP. This is what we're about, supporting disabled people in work, out of work, and bringing in a more tailored and personalised benefit. And what I will say, Mr. Speaker, if something has gone wrong, if it were not right, we will correct it to make sure people get the payments they deserve.
Alison to you, Liz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The credibility of this department absolutely lies in tatters. The Secretary of State is celebrating the fact that they're not appealing this issue, but the fact remains that they had to be dragged through the courts in the first place in order to be proven that they are wrong. So I have some questions for the Secretary of State. Will she commit to ensuring that the money for these back payments will not come out of existing DWP budgets? Can she tell us when these first payments will be made, and will they be fully backdated so that nobody is losing out? Can she tell us why it is that decision makers are making decisions as if the High Court case has never happened? And I have constituency cases myself where the guidance for people are being assessed under unlawful criteria and they're then being forced into appeals process, all of which delays payments that they are fully entitled to and means that they are living in poverty as a result. And when will new guidance be issued to Job Centre Plus staff and to claimants? Because there is so much confusion out there that nobody is aware of what they are entitled to. Mr. Speaker, this department is no fit sake to be undertaking the biggest shake-up to social security this country has ever seen. It is incompetence and it is failing the most vulnerable in our society. She must do something about it.
I would reiterate again, under PIP we are supporting more people than before and giving them the higher rate than they ever got before. So if you're questioning that money isn't being handed out to people who need it now, just think how less people were getting that support under DLA, under the previous disability benefit. What I will say is for the Mobility One component, which I believe quite rightly, I did not take leave to appeal, we are supporting an extra 200,000 people, and I'm taking it both sides of the House agree that I should be helping an extra 200,000 people. That's what we're doing. That's what we're aiming to do. And the first payments, I think I said before, at the start of the summer, I mean at the end of the summer, those first payments will be coming out. And as I said, about this specific cases that were brought for this UQ today, they will be getting their first payment within the coming days.
Vicky Ford.
Thank you. How much money was spent on disability payments in 2010 is being spent today and will be spent in 2020? And when will you also introduce recordings of PIP assessments?
Secretary of State.
What I can tell you is the expenditure has continued to go up and will go up for every year right into 2022, an increase from 2010. Just for PIP, DLA and attendance allowance alone, it is £5.4 billion higher now than it was in 2010. And what I would like to say, I know there will be future announcements on the continuous improvements we are doing for a benefit that is PIP, but we do want to bring in video recording. I think that is key. When we do bring it in, it will start with pilots to make sure it is right, but what we want to see is a modern benefit, a benefit that looks after, reaches out to disabled people and gives them the money that they should be getting.
Cable.
The Secretary of State has acknowledged that the new benefits are available to a wider range of conditions, neurological and mental illness. What steps is she taking to ensure that the assessors are fully competent to make these judgments on the wide range of conditions?
Secretary of State.
We give consistent training and updating. We have mental health champions there. Of course, we constantly review what we do. We constantly support our assessors, and that is what is needed going forward.
Stephen Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's important to put the question that's been asked and the comments that are coming from the other side of the House in context. Would my right honourable friend confirm that the government is spending over £50 billion on supporting sick and disabled people, and that we spend more in this country in supporting disabled people than any other country in the G7, barring Germany?
My right honourable friend, as ever, is correct in what he says. We are spending over £50 billion, and we are proud to do that to support disabled people who need that support. With the Conservative government, we're supporting more people, we're giving them the higher rate that we need, and we will continue to do that.
Angela Eagle.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. But the Secretary of State has been dragged to the House by an urgent question to talk about the fact that she has decided not to pursue the appeal in these cases of daily living activity 3. She has very coyly failed completely to answer the question of how many people her decision actually affects. We know there are 165 million people who receive this component at the moment. So how many 1.65 million, it's still a lot. How many, will the Secretary of State now answer, how many people are affected directly by the decision she took in the recess to withdraw the appeal in these cases, and when are they going to get the right amount of money? When are they going to be assured that they have not been illegally underpaid?
The urgent question was about 2 cases in particular, so this is about those 2 cases. It is about 2 people here that were affected who will be getting their monies immediately, and we are assessing it. But that is what this urgent question is on. If you want to take it outside the scope, then that would be for a different time on a day.
Alex Burghardt.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. Will my right honourable friend confirm that she is looking at the simplification of the PIP assessment forms to make it less stressful for people applying for the benefit?
Secretary of State.
My honourable friend is correct. As we work with stakeholders, as we work with people with disabilities, we seek to make it smoother, easier, more beneficial for those people in need, and that is exactly what we will be doing.
Luciana Berger.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In relation to concluded legal cases, this is not the only PIP case that the government have lost. On the 21st of December 2017, the High Court ruled that PIP changes made earlier last year were blatantly discriminatory against people with mental health conditions and cannot be objectively justified. However, there's still no 6 months later confirmed timetable for when that High Court judgment will be implemented in full
and back payments will be made to those people affected. Can the Secretary of State now tell us today, 6 months on, when that High Court ruling will be implemented?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I've answered that question several times today in the fact that we have been making new guidance, working with stakeholders, working with, consulting with stakeholders on what is best for that guidance, how to work through that. And as I've said, the first payments will begin at the end of the summer. As the Speaker will appreciate, having to assess all those number of people will take and has taken a bit of time, but it has been thorough, it's been correct, and the first of those payments will start at the end of the summer.
Kevin Foster.
Mr. Speaker, I do find it interesting to hear the criticism of the decision not to carry on fighting a decision with lawyers, as if some people would have preferred the Secretary of State to have carried on and appealed it and wasted money on further legal challenge. Would she reassure me, though, that she is looking at the PIP process in relation to the issue of recording of it to ensure quality assurance, and the points that come out of this case are taken up in future assessments?
My honourable friend is correct. What we need to make sure we do, although, as I said before, over 3 million assessments have been done, 9% have been appealed, 4% have been overturned. So as you can see, the vast majority is right. However, what we want to make sure is, as near as we can, all of them are right. And if that means recording the assessments, I personally would prefer video recording, then that is what we should do. So everybody has confidence in what goes on.